So I have done paper snowflakes since I was a kid. I love them. I don't know why. I find them very satisfying and fascinating the way the patterns work in them. And at some point last year during paper snowflake season, I was looking at templates that people have put online. And there are a lot now that are designs that are completely outside of snowflake land, like the butterflies and the trees that you see on the ones in the lower right here, the hearts. And it got me thinking, you could probably make paper snowflakes out of mushrooms, or, with mushroom shapes in them. So I have made, for Ma's enjoyment, a bunch of templates for mushroom-based paper snowflakes. I put them in the chat very early in the meeting. There's a PDF, or you can go to this web address and get this. It's just a one-page PDF, but each one of these triangles on this single page is a template to cut a paper snowflake that will come out as mushrooms. So here's one of those triangles that'll give you a ring of amanitas. Probably most of you did this as kids, but a quick refresher, all you need to do is a sheet of office paper, basically, and some scissors. I find that binder clips help a lot when you're using a template like these. And then if you print out that one page and cut out one of the triangles, then these instructions will all make sense. So the first thing you need to do is cut out a square out of your office paper. So you fold the short side to match the long side, and then you cut off that extra little rectangle. And you've then got a square piece of paper, 8.5 by 8.5. And then the second step is that you have to fold that triangle in half again along that long edge. And you want to make your edges pretty tightly creased, as sharp as you can. And a lot of people stop at that point and cut their paper snowflake, and they look wrong. Because you have only folded the paper in fourths at this point. So you get a four-pointed snowflake. But snowflakes actually have six-fold symmetry. And for anyone who is curious, there is a long explanation of why this is with the shape of water molecules and their electric charges and how water crystals form that I will not go into, but the fact that water crystals form in these sort of hexagonal rings of water molecules, you can't see anything at that scale, but that ring actually forces larger six-sided shapes to form, which is kind of cool. So within a snowflake, not only like the 6 rays of the snowflake are at 60 degrees, but all of the little bits and pieces along the edges are also at 60 degrees. That will not be true with our mushroom snowflakes, but I did keep the 6-fold symmetry. And to me, that makes them look right. So that is all a precursor to say this is the most annoying part. You have to now fold your triangle in thirds. And I like to use the template that you're going to eventually cut with as also a template for how this fold should go, because it's tricky to fold a thing in thirds. And I kind of bend everything over without really creasing at first, and then sort of adjust and get things where I want it. But your goal is to have that inner edge, that inner folded piece, to match up as close as you can to the outer edge, so that when you're cutting into that edge, you're cutting shapes that look pretty similar to each other through all the different layers. So once you've folded that triangle in thirds, it'll match up to the template that you can print out. And then you're going to cut it out. So this is where the binder clips come in if you have them. I find it's helpful keep the template in place, but also to keep, as you're cutting through 12 layers of paper, to keep them from shifting on top of each other. You can keep everything a little straighter. I find that I'm going to do it kind of differently in this video than I eventually decided. It's easiest to get the littlest bits closest to that bottom tip out first, because everything else is kind of stiff, and then to do some of the bigger cuts later in the process. But you know, whatever works for you, it doesn't really matter. You just got to cut away all the parts that are marked gray on that template, and you will be left with the white pieces. And then you can unfold it. So you take the template off the top, and then I often forget that I folded it in thirds last. So when you go to unfold it, there's that piece in the middle that you have to get out. That's the second third. And then it's just half and half again. And you open it up and you have a 6-fold radially symmetric snowflake. So I'll just quickly go through some of the pictures of the other snowflakes that I made. I would love to see yours if you make them. And it's also pretty easy once you've got the way to fold the paper down to mess around and make up your own. So if anyone gets hooked on this, we can do a whole new set of templates for next year. Send me whatever you come up with. I think this one is my favorite. I did. So, you know, anything you put on the edge is going to come out. You only have to do half of it and it'll come out as the full thing when you fold it, right? So I took a picture of a morel and I stuck it on one edge, and then a picture of the tulip tree leaf and stuck it on the other edge. And then I was like, hey, tulip tree flowers are also 6-petaled. So I put a little tulip tree flower in the middle of the snowflake. A little something inspired by psychedelic art and some enoki. So there's talk that there may be snow flurries tomorrow. My one last mushroom connection to snow for those of us, you may see on forays, a lot of people have little hand lenses or macro lenses for their phone cameras or things like that. That let you look at little pieces of mushrooms and the pore surfaces and things like that. They're also great for looking at snow, which is a thing that I learned from Thomas Rail, one of our identifiers who has gone off to graduate school to become a mycologist. He's the first person that got me to look at snow through a hand lens. It's super fun. So if you have one that you use for mushrooms, now that we are mostly out of mushroom season, you can still break it out if we get some snow.